stop this nonsense of people going back to their home district and telling everybody how conservative they are, when actually they're voting for 40% increase as they did during my term for increased government spending.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. That's what we're really, what this whole thing is about. The point is you can go ahead and click on the bill, you can read it and decide for yourself. Total transparency. We're only talking about 232 partisan bills. That's how many of the 800 so bills. A lot of them, and I'm sure Nancy did a wonderful job. I'm not criticizing her from that. She voted for a pro-life bill and everything else. Those were non-partisan bills. They had a majority of people supporting it.
What he's saying is they were supported by most all the Republicans.
This is crazy.
Right?
This is crazy.
This is for Valley County, we know different.
Wow.
You did probably miss me.
Quick point.
Listening to all of this, my little engineer brain can only come to the conclusion that democracy is a suicidal form of government.
I'm going to let Lonnie go ahead and go through what we were actually doing as we went through the numbers.
Okay, like I said, the only way you could get to the Democrat side of this is by going back and looking at the votes, the vote tally on all the bills out of these 232, which I did. I've got a whole notebook here full of all of them to register those. And I just did it as a comparison. Again, I'm not taking sides, I'm not pointing blame. All I'm doing is telling you what the numbers were. Because we essentially had 3 caucuses in this session. Some people say there was 5 or 6, but we all know that we had Democrats, we had a solution caucus in the Republican Party, and the other group they called themselves the 38 Special. Okay, I already told you that in this session the Democrats had the trend to cross over, vote with Republicans 5.5% of the time.
On Republican partisan.
That was out of 974 votes, or 9,744 votes. There's 42 Democrats. Do the math. They ended up crossing over 536. It's 5.5%. Now, I already explained that a lot of it was in those few, a handful of kind of oddball bills. Now, if we broke down the other parts, we had the 38 special. That was the 38 group of Republicans
The
that
majority
tended
of the Republicans.
the majority out of the 58. The 38 of them kind of didn't always stay together, but here's out of their group for the 232 votes. That's 8,816 votes. There was 745 crossovers. That comes to 8.4%. Then we had the Solution Caucus. If you break them out separate, there was 20 in the Solution Caucus, roughly. Some say 18, some say 20. And that totals out of that group, out of the 232 votes, 1,445 times voting on the other side with voting opposing leadership, if you want to place it that way. So their ratings on that was 31.1. Wow. So what that showed me was that there was not only a division and 2 caucuses in the Republican Party, they were extremely different. Now, some of them want to say, well, the other group's all extremely right. Well, I don't know about that. I don't think so. But the worst part of all of this, guys, is that we're here and we've got a lot of hard feelings and bickering, and our state is predominantly controlled by Republicans, but yet it's not.
That's right.
We are being ruled by the second floor governor's office every time there's a Democrat and a Democrat minority. So actually, when you look at that, with the 38 special, 8.4% crossover. The Solution Caucus, 31.1. That's almost 4 times more likely that the Solution Caucus would cross over and support a Democrat bill.
This is what is, I think, that is very, very important for people to understand. And so that when you start selecting in your primary, this whole thing is designed for the Republican primary. I mean, that's what the purpose of it is. So when people get into Republican primary, they can take a look at the voting record. And you know, Nancy had a great record for the first 3 sessions. And then when she got into the special session, all of a sudden she started coming over and supporting. So I give her credit. I give her credit for the fact that she was A-rated in 3 sessions.
It's meaningless. It is meaningless.
Well, it's all relative
You
anyway,
have to
so.
answer the questions.
Well, one
Because-
more comment before we go further. I mean, again, because of the division and what happened and I mean, everybody's aware. They talk about the schism or the chasm in the Republican Party. But this is a statement that Steve Bullock is running on his Twitter account, his Facebook account, and everywhere he can on his bid for President of the United States. And he is basically thanking the Republican Solutions Caucus for helping him pass the things that he wanted.
That's right.
And that's why he's saying, as a Democrat governor, he can go on to be the president and do great things because he was able to control the Republicans in a Republican state.
But of course he would say that. He's running for president.
I get that, but it gave him enough ammunition.
That's the main ammunition that we're dealing with. And I think that's the frustrating thing. I watched Schweitzer, as I pointed out earlier, 44% increase in spending because of Republicans that were going over and voting for these key bills. That these hard partisan bills, voting against the majority of the Republicans in the legislature. Now, if the folks all want that spending, hey, you're doing fine. But if you don't want the spending, you better take a look at who you're sending up there. And this is why I'm traveling around as, I thought I was out of the, I got out of the legislature, I was gonna go do my own thing and forget it. But after this session, and watching the ridiculousness that was going, and the power that Lou Jones was exerting over a bunch of mostly freshmen that he had convinced to join his group. And Lou's a very bright guy. I mean, Lou there's nothing dumb about Lou Jones. He's in control. He wants to be, the rumor in hell anyway, he wants to be budget director. If Fox gets in, he'll probably be budget director. If Cooney gets in, he'll probably be budget director. He's playing these cards real well. But the other legislators that are following his lead and are supporting these bills, that's what we want the voters to know. So when they start looking at the next primary that comes up, in the Republican primary, they need to look at the record. And we'll go back to 2005. Anybody that's been in the legislature, you can go back and see what the record is. On partisan bills, did they cross over and support all these other bills? That's great. They support them. They have their position. You can go to the NRA listing, you go to the Right to Life list, the Family Foundation. Those are all